Richard Painter, former White House ethics chief under President George W. Bush, former federal prosecutor John Flannery, and Harvard University professor Leah Wright-Rigueur. Great to have all of you with us. Two big pieces of information I want to get all of your reactions to. Robert, let me begin with you. The president calling the Mueller probe illegal. What are you hearing about that? Is this an escalation from the president?
It is an escalation of his rhetoric, but you see in his comments in the Bloomberg interview that Attorney General Jeff Sessions looks like he's safe, at least for now, with his position until the midterm elections. And while the president continues to rail against the Mueller probe, he hasn't signaled that he's ready to take action against it. This seems to be just yet another step in his credibility battle with Robert Mueller.
Leah, let me get your reaction, too, as well. Both the comments that Jeff Sessions' job is safe until the midterms, some interpreting that as somewhat of a veiled threat, you know, better shape up or ship out, so to speak, right, if I can use that expression, but also now calling the Mueller probe illegal.
Right. So I don't even see it as a veiled threat. I see it as a very direct threat. And we know that Donald Trump has been making very explicit threats to Jeff Sessions and expressing his unhappiness with Sessions' refusal to put himself back into the Russia investigation and to be a loyalist and to be a team player. So we've seen that over and over again. We've also heard reports that behind the scenes Trump is dissatisfied and unhappy, and in fact has been mocking Jeff Sessions for quite some time. I think he's putting it out there that he is willing to do what he thinks what it takes to save himself and to put himself in a position that he feels like Jeff Sessions isn't doing for him.
Richard, let me get your, if I can, your thoughts on the terminology of this being illegal. Does that signal anything to you about terms of the president's approach to the Mueller probe? Or perhaps, as I was just talking with Robert about it, being an escalation?
It's more of the same old nonsense. He's been calling it a witch hunt for over a year. This is obviously not a witch hunt. We've seen the president's campaign manager, deputy campaign manager, former lawyer, all found guilty of felonies, others as well. This is a very serious investigation. He's accusing Robert Mueller of being a Democrat. Everybody in Washington knew that Robert Mueller was a Republican coming into the Bush administration to head up the FBI. The only evidence they've ever found he's a Democrat, he played on the same high school hockey team as John Kerry. I guess that makes him a Democrat. I mean, this is just ridiculous. They keep attacking Bob Mueller simply for doing his job. And the president is tweeting his way into an obstruction of justice charge on top of all his other legal difficulties. But it's more of the same old, same old. And if he fires Jeff Sessions to get rid of Robert Mueller, he's going to find himself yet with another count of obstruction of justice.
John, let me ask you about the Jeff Sessions angle to this for a moment. Obviously, this is making news today. Some senators earlier in the week as well saying that it's just a matter of time before Sessions gets fired. In doing so, is the president signaling to his next potential attorney general what he wants done? And could that possibly become a factor in the obstruction of justice investigation, the way he's talking about Sessions and what he wants Sessions to do, which is to be a loyalist, to quote Leah?
I agree absolutely, and I think it's a Rudy two-step, if you will. What they're doing is they're clearing the decks for war, but the first step is to get through the midterms, and then they're going to do whatever they want to get rid of Sessions, to replace McGahn with whomever, and go to war. And the thing about Sessions, which is interesting, is that I guess there's only one way to define it, which is to obstruct the investigation, to see if he can get rid of Rosenstein, to see if he can get rid of Mueller, and to do it after the election is over when he believes he's at his strongest. I think that this is a real threat to the country. And I think that it's interesting when you see somebody like Lindsey Graham, who has felt so strongly about this, pull back and say, oh, I guess we could get rid of Sessions. I don't know if he thinks he's going to get the job or he's going to be the new counsel. But this is a dramatic attack on law and the Constitution, and only for one reason, for the president to cover his hindquarters. There's no other reason for him to do this.
So Robert, with the president signaling now in this Bloomberg interview that he's going to at least hold on to Sessions until the midterms, is there any chance that we see any kind of reaction from Republican lawmakers who had been coming to the defense of Jeff Sessions and try and convince the president otherwise? I mean, are we going to see any kind of behind-the-scenes politics here over the course of the next 6 to 8 weeks?
For now, they may be relieved on Capitol Hill because they don't want to have the distraction of the Attorney General being fired right before voters go to the polls. But you may see a behind-the-scenes campaign now between the White House and Congress, where you have lawmakers urging the president to not take any action, not only until after the midterm elections, but until after Robert Mueller issues his report on the president's conduct. So there's no question in their eyes that there's obstruction of justice going on.